Hey, what's going on YouTube? EasyTech231 here. I'm a little under the weather. You can probably hear that in my voice right now, so bear with me. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to be checking out the UMI Iron Pro, which is a $180 Android smartphone. So yes, this phone is under 200 bucks. The specs are pretty impressive, and speaking of specs, I'm going to go ahead and get those out of the way so I'm not boring you guys with the specs throughout the video. So the UMI Iron Pro is packing the MediaTek 6753 processor, the Mali-T720 GPU, 3 GB of RAM, 16 GB of storage. It also has a MicroSD card slot to expand that storage, a 3180 mAh battery, a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS display. It's got a fingerprint scanner, USB Type-C, and it's also running Android 5.1 Lollipop. So on paper, the specs are actually pretty impressive for what you can get for under 200 bucks. But of course, the real world usage is really what determines how good this phone is, or any phone for that matter. So how well does this phone perform in real world usage? So for 180 bucks, I gotta say this phone is really not that bad at all. In terms of the price range, we're looking at Moto G territory, but of course this phone is a lot bigger. But even though the phone is made out of aluminum, it's not the highest quality material overall. You can still kind of feel where they cut corners to bring the cost down on this phone. So the screen on the Iron Pro is actually not too bad. Again, 5.5-inch display, 1080p resolution. You'd kind of expect a 720p resolution display for this price point, but honestly, it doesn't even look that bad. The colors are a little washed out. Again, they don't pop out at you like an AMOLED display, but to be completely honest, they look just fine, and text is actually pretty nice and sharp. So while the screen isn't the best, it's also not the worst at all. I'm actually pretty impressed with this display. So I know you guys will be pleased to hear that the UMI Iron Pro performs very well for, again, the price point, and in everyday usage, it's not too shabby at all. So I pretty much put the UMI Iron Pro through everything that I put my Note 5 through: browsing social media, browsing the internet, playing a couple games here and there, taking a lot of pictures, and just doing pretty much everything on my smartphone, and it handled it fairly well. I didn't really notice much lag, if any at all. There were a couple stutters here and there, but nothing major. No lockups, no freezes, no random reboots, nothing like that. This thing is pretty smooth. Now this phone is running Android 5.1 Lollipop, as I said before, so not the latest version of Android, unfortunately. I haven't heard anything about a Marshmallow update, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that sooner rather than later. So looking at a fairly close to stock Android experience on the UMI Iron Pro, it does come with UMI's custom launcher built in, but of course you can just toss the Google Now launcher on there and get pretty much close to stock Android, just like I did. And it also comes with Viper for Android. If you guys are in the root community, you'll know what that is right off the bat. It is pretty much an audio equalizer, probably one of the best ones out there, so that is really cool as well. Now I know you guys are itching to see what the cameras on this phone are all about. We're looking at a 13 megapixel Sony shooter on the back and an 8 megapixel Omnivision shooter on the front. Now on paper, this sounds pretty impressive, but again, real world usage is really what determines how good this is. So here are some sample shots that I took with the UMI Iron Pro. I have not touched these pictures. I didn't edit them in any way. This is just how you get it right out of the box, so to speak. And yeah, I mean, it's up to you if you guys really think that this is great. It's not really the best out there, but again, $180, so you have to take that price point into consideration with pretty much everything on this smartphone. So the cameras on this phone will get the job done in a pinch. If you take the phone outside and take a bunch of pictures in bright light, then yeah, you'll get some nice results. However, you bring the phone inside, you start to take some selfies in the dark, maybe you'll be getting some different results. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing ever, but again, in a pinch, it'll get the job done. Again, remember the price point, $180. You're not going to be getting Sony Xperia Z5 quality out of this guy right here. Now let's get into the fingerprint scanner, which is located on the back. It's actually not that bad. I set it up, I tested it out a few times, used it, day to day, and to be honest, not that bad. It is a little on the slow side, so it may take a little more than half a second to, from actually putting your finger on the fingerprint reader and to it actually unlocking. So it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not as fast as the Huawei Mate S or the iPhone 6s, but it's actually not too bad for a budget smartphone. It is a little bit better than some of the other budget phones fingerprint scanners out there that I've tried, so it's not too bad. It's a little bit in the middle for me. Now this phone also boasts an iris scanner, which pretty much just uses the front-facing camera to detect your eyes. You literally have to bring it this close to your face for it to detect your eyes, and it works okay. It's pretty much face unlock from Ice Cream Sandwich. At least I think it was Ice Cream Sandwich. It works okay. It's not that cool of a feature. I never really used it much. I mean, I use the fingerprint reader a lot more often, but it is there. I guess you could call it a feature, but it's a bit more on the gimmicky side for me. Now, there are other cool features on this phone, like you can schedule power on and off times. It charges via USB Type-C, which is nice, and it also supports dual SIM. I've never really used that, but for those of you guys out there that use dual SIM, this phone's got that. So the UMI Iron Pro is a pretty decent device for the price. Did not mean to rhyme there, but what exactly is wrong with the UMI Iron Pro? Well, for one, the build quality, and I know you're saying, wait, I thought it was made out of aluminum. Well, yeah, it is made out of aluminum, but the construction of it is not the greatest. One day I picked up the phone and I kind of felt something shake, and I shook it again. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah, it rattles a little bit. So I don't know if that's just my device. I never felt that before in any device. I didn't feel it when I first got the phone. I haven't dropped the phone. I never threw the phone. It just started like that, and it's actually this side of the phone, if you can see here, moving just ever so slightly, so it came a little loose. I hope that's not the case with a bunch of other UMI Iron Pros out there, but that just so happens to be the case with mine here. Another thing I don't like about the UMI Iron Pro are the outer bezels around the screen. It kind of reminds me of the HTC One M7. Not the most attractive thing in the world, but again, it's not too bad. It could be considered nitpicking on my part, but it just doesn't look the greatest in my opinion. Now, last but not least is the speaker on the bottom back of the phone. Now, first things first, the placement, if you're gonna make the speaker look like that, I feel like you could have put it on the front, but that's okay. Now, the sound that this thing produces is not good at all. It sounds very tinny. It sounds like you're listening out of a tin cup pretty much. It doesn't sound good at all. So I definitely recommend getting some Bluetooth headphones, a Bluetooth speaker if you want to listen to music, you know, from this phone. It just doesn't sound good at all. So I almost forgot battery life. And battery life on the UMI Iron Pro is the saving grace. It is actually pretty good. I did like it. I did get better battery life than I do on my Galaxy Note 5. I was getting about 5.5 hours of heavy usage on mid to maybe 75% brightness, and it does the job. It gets through a full day of usage. Pretty impressive. So the UMI Iron Pro for 180 bucks, it's a pretty decent device. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty impressive for the price, and I gotta say, I would recommend it to you guys for a first smartphone, or perhaps a first smartphone for your kid. I would definitely recommend this device if you're trying to find a decent smartphone. I mean, it's got a 5.5-inch display, 1080p resolution. It's got a fingerprint scanner, USB Type-C, so you're getting some of the higher-end features packed into this lower-end device. It's not that bad, I gotta say. It actually made me smile. Again, 180 bucks. Again, I hope this review could help you decide whether or not to get this phone. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Leave a like if you did. Leave a comment on what you think about this phone. Also, shout out to Banggood for sending me one of these smartphones for review. I'll leave a link to their site in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.